Well, I'm here at Ardmore Studios, and as you can see behind me, there's a lot of people who've worked in the film industry for many years. Very many skilled workers, painters, carpenters, stagehands, plasterers and other people with long experience in the Irish film industry, but not a single one of them has a job. And most of them have not worked for over a year because they have raised issues and questions about the lack of rights and the lack of proper treatment of workers in the Irish film industry. They brought those issues into the All-Party Oireachtas Arts Committee. They raised very serious questions about the amount of public money, about 70 million to 80 million a year, that goes into the Irish film industry, and how that money could go in and yet nobody actually has any kind of security of employment. Nobody has pension entitlements, nobody has the right to holidays, no rights at all. That seems extraordinary, with that amount of public money going in every year, that you can have a whole industry of workers who have no rights. So they're asking for their rights. The issues have been raised repeatedly in the Dáil. There have been some positive signals from the government. They're going to tighten up the conditions around public funding for the film industry, but we need to see that actually happen. And obviously we need to end a situation where people can be blacklisted out of an industry simply because they raise issues about their rights under the law, to be treated and to have some sort of security under fixed term workers legislation and other employment legislation. So let's hope the film industry producers will listen to this and the government will listen to this, because the dispute is just going to rumble on, and the unfair treatment of these workers will continue unless people sit down together and work out how workers can be treated fairly, particularly when all that public money is going in precisely in order to create jobs, to create training, to create employment, and to create an industry that works for everybody. Well, first, could you maybe introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience in the film industry?
Joe Gaynor. I'm a painter. I've done master painter. Both of my sons are master painters. Neither of them working at the moment either. I came back out of retirement simply because you're only as good as the last job you had. There's no security whatsoever. The last job I had was on the Badlands, and that's over here. I know younger men than me who absolutely terrific qualifications, because everybody in whatever trade you pick in this business are highly qualified. That goes without saying. Everybody that I've worked with and everybody I know, immaterial to them as a person. It's absolutely diabolical the way men are treated in this day and age. It's a disgrace, and the millions and millions the government puts into. And a man called Bobby Richardson, who brought me into this business about 30 years ago, is long gone. His two sons are still involved in it. He told me at that time that this place was rotten, and he came into this place and was one of the original workers in this place, and they were his words. Sorry.
And how long have you been working in the industry, and how many film productions have you worked on over the years?
I've worked with so many, really. It would be very similar to Pat. I worked around the same time. Came into the business around the same time as Pat. And he would, as he said himself, he was a master carpenter. And he's been isolated because you speak up. That's the whole problem. It's about speaking up. And there has to be, the best thing that's ever happened with this, and I'm not getting into personalities, the best thing that's happened in my time in this was John Arkins, because he asked questions that nobody else asked. And for that, he's vilified now. They're trying to kick him out. I mean, and I'm repeating, it's nothing got to do with friendship. I like to think I spent many years in SIP2, really many years, and went along with the thing, but John Arkins had the balls to address different situations. and for that he's been victimised. I think it's a disgusting way to treat people, to treat workers at this day and age. It's absolutely disgusting.
And are you convinced that the reason that yourself and many of the other people who are protesting here today are not at work at the moment is because you spoke up and asked questions about your situation and conditions in the industry?
Yeah, to some extent. I don't want to vilify everybody. There's some very good people in it, but there seems to be too many cliques. And if you're not on one side of the fence, then if you don't go along with what some people want to see. It's important for me to say not to vilify everybody. Everybody is not bad in the business. It's just that if you speak your mind at all, you're silenced. I have no doubt about that. Really.
And I mean, what sort of protections would you like to see the government bring in for workers in the film industry that could help deal with this situation?
Everybody should have the very basic would be a pension, a small kind of a pension. The millions and millions of euros that the government is putting into the film industry. Absolutely, I don't have a figure on it. I'm sure you would know maybe that better, a lot better than me.
About 70 to 80 million euro a year.
It's absolutely incredible, you know. And for that, they're not expected to stand by anything. The workers are the ones that's been affected. The workers with serious qualifications. I mean, I'm repeating, I'm a painter, but the difference between a painter and a film painter is absolutely massive. It's like learning the trade all over again. If you come in through the films, you could be the best painter outside, painter and decorator. But when you come into this, it's a highly qualified experience. You have to learn all over again. And then no one gives a damn about any worker. It's not about me, but it's about the industry in general. Nobody gives a damn about it.
And just one last question. I mean, do you think things have, in your years, do you think things have taken a turn for the worse?
Oh yeah.
And when would you pinpoint as the time when things got worse, and why do you think that happened?
Well, I know I'm hearing all kinds of things. There's money that went to the taxpayers' money has gone abroad and taken out of the country. There's all kinds of scandals at the upper end. We hear it all the time in the thing. Never heard of any scandal from the workers. I've honestly never heard it from that end. It all seems to be up there, but there is serious problems.
I've actually rang a construction manager, and he told me he didn't want to employ me.
And did he give any reason?
Obviously, I was on that production in John Flair's.
And how long have you worked in the film industry?
30 years.
30 years. I'm
a senior man. Yeah.
And what job would you do on the?
I would have done Collins, Penny Dreadful. I was on it for 3 or 4 years, and yeah, a bit disappointed that I haven't got a job.
So in those 30 years that you've been working in the film industry, and you never had any problems or complaints about your work, or?
No, nobody ever complained about my work. I was well able to do my work. I was a master carpenter on Penny Dreadful for 3 years.
But because you raised issues.
It was issues, yeah, exactly.
And do you want to just tell us what the issues were that you raised on John Flair?
There was no proper toilet facilities. There was a problem with asbestos on the roof. And we didn't have a place to eat. And the lighting in the workshops were diabolical. And I'm a machinist. And I know it's very important to have really good lighting around machines. You know.
And then, if you were to give a message to the film producers and the film industry about the situation you find yourself in, what would you say to them?
Well, I'm very disappointed. I enjoyed my work in the film business. I got to work on a lot of different nice projects, you know. And I don't believe I have ever said no to any construction manager or any carpenter. No, I'm not doing that. So, you know, I'm very disappointed and I'm actually not working at the moment.
And is there anything you'd like to say about the government, given that the government given a huge amount of public funding to the film industry? Do you feel the government should have any role in protecting your rights or in preventing these kind of abuses in the film industry?
Well, I think it's the 481, is it, that they get? There should be something in there for us as employees. All I need to do is work.
And given that you've worked in the industry for over 30 years, I mean, do you feel that like you've no rights as an employee over all those years?
I don't have any rights.
Yeah.
That's why I'm out here. Why do you think I'm standing here? There's a reason for it.
And what do you think should happen in terms of your employment status? What do you think should happen?
Well, I think I should have a job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that's too much to ask.
I done a film called Person and Madman. It's a Mel Gibson film, and myself and my colleague was on that for 6 weeks, and he had a serious accident, and ever since he hasn't walked. He's been out of work for 3 years now on disability, and I haven't been employed with the same employer since that accident, because I think because I was a colleague of his and a friend that I haven't worked with them either. And so, as I say, he's on disability now for 3 years, probably never work again. And not once has he got a card, a phone call, just nothing. It's just pushed aside, like myself, like I was. So unfortunately, that was my experience with my first film with the film industry, which I was excited about coming in. I'm a skilled set decorator, I can do anything, and that's the way I was treated, basically. So.
And why do you think they kind of ousted you in a way?
Well, because I was a colleague of his and a friend of his, and I was told I'd be back on the next film, but I wasn't. I wasn't even a phone call. I wasn't even to say anything. So I just presumed like once you're in, you were in, and that I was like constantly going to be in work.
Did you have a contract or anything like that?
Yeah, I drew up a contract at the start of the film, and basically when the film was over, that was it. But the man that we employed with, he continued on doing another production which I wasn't involved in, and I think it's down to my friend, colleague, which was injured. So I think I got treated, exceeded in that sense.
Because they didn't want to sort of admit or take responsibility for you as employees?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, yeah. I was told I'd be brought back in the next production. I was told you get a phone call, no problem. It's not a dicky board. Absolutely not.
And what do you think should happen in order to sort of protect workers and prevent that sort of treatment of workers in these situations?
Well, the way he was treated, it didn't look too good on his behalf, and he sort of nearly went into depression as well, Me personally, I thought I sort of had a job for life. It's hard enough to go into this industry, very hard to go into it, and to go into it and then it lasts like 6 weeks, and then to me, I thought it was going to be a full-time employment, to be honest with you. I gave up a lot to join this industry, had my own painting company, so I sort of, to this day and age, I'm after losing out on a lot of work myself by coming here.
I'm a stagehand in the Irish film industry 27 years. I've worked on all major TV productions as supervising stagehand, going back as far as the Snapper and beyond. I was the shop steward in the SIPTU Trades Union, and I was the president of the SIPTU Trades Union branch, Film and Entertainment branch. This is a register of technicians and trainees when I was president of the branch of SIPTU. This here. I'm challenging SIPTU to take one PAYE worker that they purport to represent from 2002 and produce them while they're running around to the TDs and running around with the employers making up the figure of 17,000 employees. I'm challenging them here and now to produce one PAYE worker that has a contract indefinite duration, that the whole legislation, employment legislation applies to, and basically I will walk away from this if they produce one single PAYE worker they purport to represent that has a pension, that gets annual leave, that has an employer, that has a place of work, and actually all the legislation covers them. Just one out of 17,000 they purport operates within this industry, just one. I'm calling on Cardinal O'Loughlin now and Patricia King who have documented emails too, all of them. And I challenge them now. I challenge them when it's a shop steward, and I challenge them once again. You are denying PAYE workers the right to get these issues aired in an industry for them by pulling a veto. And the reason why you're pulling a veto and not attending is because you cannot produce one single worker from this bilk, from any grade, that actually has a job, and after 20 odd years, 25 years in the industry, are retiring with a pension. Our colleagues are dropping dead on film sets. Our colleagues are having injuries on film sets. The health and safety is non-existent on film sets. And you're sitting at Ivory Tower, and because you're afraid you're going to be exposed. But remember this, the truth is a defence that can't be overcome. You took my money for over 20 years. You purported to represent me, and then you threw me out of the union when I actually spoke up about employee rights. You threw me out. That's the facts. That's the Irish film industry. And these people they're getting 1.5 billion of our money through taxes, grants, loans. And we have nothing to show for. No employees, no facilities, no nothing. The Dáil got in an uproar over the National Children's Hospital, when actually the overrun went over to 1.7 billion to 2 billion. We've given 1.5 billion to a festive interest group, and we have nothing. Where's the uproar, Micheál Martin? Where's the uproar, Mary Lou? Where's the uproar? Where is it? The silence is deafening, because you are the colleagues who overstood what was known as a tax haven for the wealthy of Ireland, while the people, the likes of me, were going through hard times. That's the reality of the situation. And if you want to prove me wrong, prove me wrong. Produce one PAYE worker. Bring one trainee from this book that has a job today. Just one. Instead of making allegations and innuendos, answer the questions.